What's up, boxing fans? I'm Michael Montero for Boxing Monthly. You're watching the Neutral Corner for the week of April 30th. All right. So I had a really fun day today just trolling the trolls on Twitter and on Facebook and even on YouTube. Since the Triple G Wade fight ended, there's just been a plethora of hate and trolling I've seen out there. So I just decided to jump right in. I had a really fun day. But a lot of boxing to talk about, a lot of fights scheduled. So let's get into some quick news and notes. All right, so for starters, Anthony Joshua, the man right now in the UK, really the man in the world in the heavyweight division, the next big thing. He is defending his IBF heavyweight title against Dominic Breazeale, another Al Haymon guy, on June 25th, O2 Arena. Really good co-feature in that too, with George Groves versus Martin Murray. That should be a really fun co-feature. That's obviously going to steal the show. But this is interesting for a few reasons, okay? This is the second straight fight where Eddie Hearn is working with Al Haymon regarding Anthony Joshua. And Haymon's basically shipping one of his undefeated heavyweights over to the UK, basically like a lamb to the slaughter, right? Many people, didn't think Charles Martin would last long. I actually thought it'd go a little longer than it did. I thought it might go to the middle rounds, but with Breazeale, I don't know if he's going to go any longer than Charles Martin did. The only difference here between these two guys, and I've seen both of these guys a lot because they train here in Los Angeles. I know some of the guys they spar with and work with. Breazeale is bigger than Martin. He's bigger than Joshua. He's a big man. You guys know I say a lot of times, I meet these guys in person. They're always an inch or two shorter than they say they are. Well, Breazeale really is a big guy. And so far, he has shown a pretty good chin. Now, I know he got dropped in his last fight with Mansour, but he got up and he responded well. He's shown kind of a fighter instinct. So the interesting part of this fight for me will be when Breazeale gets tagged, because he's not hard to hit. You could wear a blindfold and hit the guy from a mile away. When he gets hit, I want to see how he responds. He's not going to pull a Charles Martin where he looks for a way out. At least I don't think so, not initially. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But that should be not much, but slightly more interesting fight than Anthony Joshua's fight against Charles Martin. It's also indicative of what's going on with the PBC right now. I don't think either of those fights with Anthony Joshua happened a year or two ago in the Al Haymon universe. But right now they need money. And Eddie Hearn is ponying up cash because he's making big cash with Joshua. So it's interesting. Another fight that is now official, I've been talking about it for a while now, but Terrence Crawford defending or going up against Victor Postol. And I thought it might come to LA, but then part of me thought, you know what, they're going to go to Vegas for the site fee. That's what they did. MGM Grand, Las Vegas, July 30th. This is going to be a pay-per-view. And they're putting together, I think, what will be a good undercard for that pay-per-view. Where I actually think you get your money's worth with that one. We got some fights coming up, man. I mean, next month, of course, we got Canelo, right? Canelo Khan. But Wilder Povetkin, May 21st. And that same day, David Haye has a fight. So David Haye's trying to get back in the scene. If maybe, he could work his way into a fight with either Tyson Fury or Anthony Joshua next year. Of course, we got Fury-Klitschko, that rematch on July 9th. Sergey Kovalev just signed on. It's official. He's fighting Isaac Chilemba on July 11th, which is actually a Monday, over in Russia. And a lot of boxing fans are groaning about the day. It's because they had to work around the soccer schedule over there. So I don't know if HBO is going to televise it. That hasn't been announced yet. But expect some kind of streaming service or something where we can see that fight. Kovalev versus Chilemba. And I like Chilemba as a choice. He's a pretty sturdy guy. I think style-wise, he's not going to prepare him exactly for Andre Ward, but it's not a layup. He's not a layup. He's not a walk in the park. He's a quality top 10 light heavyweight. So I think that's a good choice for Kovalev. But, Chilemba doesn't punch very hard, and I do think Kovalev should chop him down and get the knockout in that fight. Of course, Vasyl Lomachenko going back and forth for a while with a couple different opponents. They finally settled on Roman Martinez. WBO titleist at 130 pounds. That is June 11th. I'm not sure if I talked about that one last week or not. Of course, Felix Verdejo is the co-feature in that one. So a lot of fights coming together now. And look, I made a video a few months ago saying, what the hell is going on in 2016? But now we see what's going on. We're getting some good fights here. And I really think we're going to finish this year pretty strong. I don't know if we're going to get the super fights we want, but we're getting some good quality matchups as we continue to see this changing of the guard. But let's talk about the big drama show, the little drama show last weekend here in Los Angeles. So obviously I was ringside at the Forum, and it was a crazy, crazy atmosphere. A lot of people have been asking me, just what was it like, and to talk about that. The closest thing I could compare it to, going to a Triple G fight, at least here in LA, and he's had 3 now in the past 18 months, it's kind of like a big block party or like a big tailgate before a big football game or something. There's people hanging out in the parking lot hours before the damn fight. And the way that the Forum is set up, there's concessions around the bowl inside, but then outside there's a ring around the Forum that's blocked off from the parking lot. You have to go in the arena to get outside. There's these like patios that kind of go around the Forum, and there's concessions out there. And what I found really, really cool was there's just thousands of people chilling outside in that area, hanging out, drinking beers, taking pictures, talking to each other, just people from all over the United States, even all over the world. There was a lot of Kazakhs there, and they weren't American Kazakhs because they spoke no English. There was a few people, with Kazakh shirts and stuff like that I, walked up to and said hi, and they spoke no freaking English. So there are people that must have traveled or must be fresh off the boat or something that were at this fight. Really, really fun atmosphere. And the only negative side, if I could find one, is that the people who fought on the untelevised undercard, and there were some good fighters, a couple of good female fights actually, most of the people were out in the parking lot partying while those fights were going on. They really started trickling in when Gonzalez Arroyo started. That's when the crowd really, really, really filled up. And of course it was packed for the main event. 16,353 was the announced attendance. HBO rating, this was a free preview weekend with HBO. So, full disclosure, it was available in hundreds of, at least 100 million homes or something, but they did a rating for the flyweight fight of 1 million. And for the main event, it did over 1.3 million. That is a very, very good rating, considering the fact that they were going up against the NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs, and Major League Baseball. And there was actually an Angels game, I believe that Sunday, out in Orange County. So that pulled some people away. Considering all that was going on, plus the fact it was a warm day here in Los Angeles and everybody was out doing things. Los Angeles is very much an outdoorsy kind of big city. It's a big city, but people go out to the beach. They go hiking at the mountains and stuff when it's a nice day. And everybody was out doing stuff all day. The traffic was shitty all day. Considering that they put that many butts in the seats, considering that the fight did that kind of rating with considering what it was up against, I think that's really, really impressive, man. And really what impressed me more even than the Triple G Wade rating, was the Gonzalez Arroyo rating. 1 million Americans tuned in to watch a Nicaraguan guy and a Puerto Rican guy, neither of whom speak English, 2 flyweights fighting as a co-feature on an HBO card. Generally speaking, Americans, I feel, are obsessed with size, especially American sports fans. They're obsessed with size. It's why American football is the biggest sport in this country. American sports fans, A, tend to be very, very ethnocentric, but B, really, really like big athletes, right? It's why the NBA is popular, the NFL. So for two flyweights to do that kind of a rating, considering all the competition, that is what really, really impressed me. And talking a little bit about that fight. Okay, I'm just rambling about the atmosphere in the event, but the fight itself, that flyweight fight, was a very, very good, underrated, underappreciated fight. I think it's a fight that we'll be looking at a few years from now saying, man, this Arroyo kid is pretty tough, pretty good. And he really gave Chocolatito a push. And for Gonzalez, who had trouble making weight, who really, needs to be a little more disciplined in between fights with his weight, had issues getting down. It was very drained all week. He cut his media workout very, very short. He looked really, really bad at the weigh-in, right? For him, this was a tough, tough fight. And for him to do what he did against a very game fighter, who by rights should have been a flyweight world titleist, because Arroyo got ripped off, I believe it was a year or two ago, against Amnat Ruenboeng in a title fight over in Thailand. I want to say it was a split decision, mixed decision or something in Thailand. Most people feel he won that fight. So this is a guy that literally, this should have been a unification fight by rights. For Chocolatito to do what he did and dominate a guy who was never giving up is really special. For Arroyo, he earned a big payday in the future. I can't remember the exact dollar amount, but Chocolatito got $500,000, his purse, for this fight. And I don't even think Arroyo got 100 grand. I want to say it was 50 grand or somewhere 70, 80 grand, somewhere in that range. I tweeted it out, but his next fight, he's at least getting six figures, low six figures, maybe $250,000 or something like that. He's earned it, right? He's absolutely earned another title shot. What I was very, very impressed with Chocolatito, and I talked about this in my ringside recap video, he went upstairs, he went downstairs, he used the left, he used the right, he cut off the ring. He cuts off the ring better than Golovkin, and I think Golovkin's one of the best. But Chocolatito cuts off the ring. He uses effective aggression. He stalks, but he does it in an intelligent manner. He hits you from every angle. And he doesn't need to move around to do it. He stands right in front of you at times. It can hit you from every angle. Arroyo kept trying different things. I could see him from ringside thinking and trying different things. A lot of people don't know that Arroyo had a decorated amateur career. He was a very good amateur. He fought a lot of international competition. And he's seen every style. He is a schooled boxer. He knew how to survive when he needed to. He was huffing and puffing because Gonzalez's body work was sick. But he was able to make the adjustments he needed to survive. But everything he tried, Chocolatito had an answer. So just a great fight. And even though the scores, I want to say they were 120, 108, 119, 109 twice, I think that was a bit too wide. I do think Arroyo won a couple rounds maybe, but even though those were very wide scores, this was a competitive, fun fight to watch. And I think it really, really stole the show. But talking about the main event, what can I say? It was a 2-round blowout. Golovkin was a 60-1 favorite. Here's the thing, though. Everybody in the place, 16,000 plus fans, were satisfied. Everybody felt, from what I could see and I could observe, that they got their money's worth. I think some people were a little disappointed maybe that Wade was that easy to beat. Maybe, but they came to see the big drama show. And they got a great co-feature in the little drama show. So the big drama show, they got what they wanted. They wanted to see Golovkin go in there and take care of business. No messing around, no playing around. He did that. And then he called out the middleweight division. And that's something fans have been wanting to see. There was a lot of taunting of Canelo Alvarez. When Triple G's ring walk started, it started out with the Mexican music, Canelo's music. Ring walk music, and then it cut and it went to Seven Nation Army by the White Stripes. And the fans ate that shit up because the majority of the fans there were Mexican American. They ate that shit up. It was not a pro-Canelo house. It was a pro-Golovkin house. But after the fight, Max Kellerman had to kind of bait Golovkin a little bit, but he got Golovkin to open up, and Golovkin is starting to learn that he's got to be a little more nasty. He's got to trash talk a little bit. He wasn't being a very, very nice guy. And when asked about Canelo, Golovkin just simply said, give me my belt. I need my belt. And the crowd went freaking nuts. The most amazing part for me was after the fight, nobody left. Nobody left. Security at the Forum had to start pushing people out. And I watched, I'm not making this shit up. Security was pushing people out of the stands, and the people would hang out around the concessions in the inner bowl, like when you go up the stairs, and you walk to where the bathrooms and concessions are, and they were hanging out, mingling there. And then I saw the security go up there and force the people into the parking lot. They, for real, had to push all those people out of the arena. There was a buzz and an electricity there. So I just find a lot of these things interesting. Now, some of the haters on Twitter, that shit started immediately. Who the hell is Dominic Wade and all this bullshit? It doesn't matter, it isn't mandatory. Now there's people saying, I've seen it all this week. I've really seen it all. Oh, he should have just dumped the IBF belt and moved up 2 weight classes to fight Andre Ward, blah, 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 blah. You're never going to make them happy. But here's my thing. Yes, it was a blowout. It was a 60-1 fight, all that good stuff. But he did what he was supposed to do, Golovkin. When you have a 60-1 odds type of fight, you're supposed to blow the dude out. You're supposed to get him out of there. You're not supposed to get some rounds in and fuck around. He didn't do that. He got rid of him. I mentioned the crowd. I mentioned the ratings. There's been 3 fights, I said, in LA, right, in 18 months. Golovkin has sold over 38,000 tickets in those 3 fights. He sold out the StubHub. They did a record at the StubHub. The first fight at the Forum wasn't a complete sellout. It was like a 75-80% to capacity crowd. This fight was a sellout, and it was the biggest crowd at the Forum for anything since they revamped it. The biggest crowd for boxing since the 1970s. So Golovkin's basically graduated the Forum now. You got to think his next fight in LA is going to be at Staples or something like that. Dude has graduated now and just built up to a bigger arena. If you include his fight last year at Madison Square Garden, where he did over 20,000 tickets there, then you're talking almost 60,000 tickets sold in his last 5 fights over the past 18 months. There was one fight in Monaco at a very small private venue that's only a couple hundred people. So you don't even really count that. His last 4 fights in America, almost 60,000 tickets sold. There are not many fighters, American fighters, who can do that. There are not many fighters, non-Spanish speaking fighters, who can do that. Golovkin does it in New York and in Los Angeles. And people forget, he's only been fighting in America for 3.5 years. It's just really, really impressive. And people that hate on the guy, look, I'm just going to call it what it is. Most of it's from black fans, and a lot of the hate is coming from very young, uneducated black fans who just started watching boxing very recently, and that's okay. We need young fans. But a lot of these guys go to certain YouTube channels that promote race baiting and basically lie, make shit up out of thin air, and really, really, really race bait to pull subscribers in, to get clicks so they can make money off of these young, impressionable kids. And these kids grow up thinking certain things, and they become fans that are indoctrinated into a certain belief system. And it's not just black boxing fans. I don't want to hear all the racist bullshit, guys, but it is the demographic trend. A lot of the people that hate on Golovkin, that's where it's coming from. It's coming from some people who are being very irresponsible in the black media complex portion of the boxing media that are promoting some of this shit. It needs to stop. But eventually, the guy, Golovkin's going to get the big, big fights, and at some point, he's going to even win those fans over. It will happen at some point. Last note about this fight, and then we'll move on to the preview of this week's action. Ray Mancini was there at the fight, and he's very, very big on Triple G. And he straight up said, if you don't see the genius in this guy or the mastery of what he's doing, you're just stupid. Those are his words. You're just stupid. All right, so we got some PBC stuff going on this week. Friday in Atlantic City, New Jersey, Friday the 29th. It's PBC on Spike. The Durrell brothers are fighting. Andre and Anthony Durrell have separate opponents. Neither of them, the Durrell brothers are going to win. So the better PBC fight is Saturday here in Los Angeles at StubHub, and I'm still debating 50-50 whether I'm going to go. I think I'm going to go to cover this one because I actually think the main event between Ortiz and Berto, which is a rematch, Victor Ortiz and Andre Berto, a rematch of their fight of the year, really, fight of the year candidate. Might have been fight of the year in 2011 that Ortiz won by unanimous decision where both guys were down. It was a war, really, really good fight. And I think this is going to be a good fight. What I don't know is how much Ortiz has left. He's been inactive. He's been all over the place. He's been in and out of boxing. Berto is a boxer. That's all he is. And he's been consistent. He's been fighting the better opposition. He's taken some punishment, and he's worn down too. But I have a hunch that Berto just has a little more left, and he's a little more focused and dedicated, and he wants revenge from that fight. And he knows that if he gets a big win here, he gets a title shot, maybe at like the Thurman Porter winner or Danny Garcia, something like that, right? He's going to get a higher profile fight. So I'm going to go with Berto in this one, but it should be pretty good. Edwin Rodriguez is fighting Thomas Williams Jr. in the co-feature. I don't really know much about Thomas Williams Jr., so this should be kind of a showcase fight for Rodriguez. Several undefeated prospects on the undercard. I don't know if these are going to be aired or not. Maybe some highlights, but Gerald Washington, undefeated heavyweight based here in Los Angeles. You guys have seen him on my channel a bunch. He's going up against Eddie Chambers. Much shorter guy. Eddie is probably 5'11", not a big heavyweight. He's another one of these guys, Eddie Chambers, that I just wish he would have fought at cruiserweight. I think Eddie could have cleaned out, at one point, not anymore, but I think at one point Eddie Chambers could have cleaned out the cruiserweight division, became the linear, unified, undisputed champion of that division, and really set a precedent there. I wish one of these guys would stay at cruiserweight and do that. I've been saying it for so long, and Eddie Chambers really, really could have. He's not a heavyweight. I've met Eddie several times just at functions and stuff. He's not a big guy. When you look at him, you wouldn't even think he's a cruiserweight, really. He's just not a big guy. I've seen light heavyweights, like a guy like Slava Shabransky, light heavyweight prospect. He's bigger than Eddie Chambers. He would knock Eddie Chambers out if they fought. I really think that. Gerald Washington should stop Eddie Chambers, but I don't think he's going to. I think Eddie, because of his slickness, his skills, could probably will take Washington the distance. Expect another close, controversial decision. That being said, maybe Washington will show improvement from his last fight to this one. But he's been fighting these shorter guys. Remember, he went up against Amir Mansour recently, or last year, I'm sorry, and there was a controversial decision there, right? The difference between Mansour and Chambers is Chambers can't crack. He can't punch through a wet paper bag. So maybe Washington will walk him down a little bit, but expect Chambers to give him some fits early on. And maybe Gerald can show some improvement and get him out of there. That'd be a big statement, but I'm going to go with Washington by close, controversial decision on that one. We also got some fights on Showtime, right? And this is another thing. These are PBC guys fighting on Showtime again. I don't quite know what's going on here. I don't know. Oh, by the way, that fight, Berto Ortiz, that's the first PBC on Fox card. And I think the co-feature I'm not interested in, but that main event, that's a good one to put on Fox, their first fight on Fox. I think that's a smart thing for them. But the Showtime card in DC, Badu Jack is fighting Lucien Boutte. And for Jack, who I'm still not sold on, he won a title last year, split decision over George Groves, and then he had a majority decision over Anthony Durrell. That was his 2015. He won the WBC title. This is his first fight this year. Lucien Boutte has only fought 5 times in 4 years. He's lost 3 of his last 5 fights. And his last fight was against James DeGale in November. And guess what? James DeGale's fighting in the co-feature. James DeGale is going up against a Mexican fighter named Rogelio Medina, who, lost to Badu Jack in 2013, was KO'd by Badu Jack in 2013. Medina has 6 losses. He's been knocked out 3 times. The recycling act. These guys all fighting each other in these meaningless fights. Jack and DeGale should be fighting each other, right? They shouldn't be fighting each other's leftovers. Yeah. I'm not a hater, guys. I report PBC fairly and accurately, but that's the kind of shit that we need to see less of. So let me know what you guys think. Comment below, share, like, subscribe, all that good shit. If you were at the fight last weekend, let me know. And you know what you saw, what you felt. And let me know if you're coming to the fight at StubHub this weekend. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of freebies given out. I'll see you guys at the fights.